Hello and welcome. I am Lopamudra Moitro and you are listening to my weekly podcast, What's in a Story, where I read stories from my books along with a small introduction about each. These stories are from my work as an anthropologist from across India and South Asia, and the introductions with each story helps to explain different related information about, say, maybe aspects like history, languages and literature, music, trade and economy, festivals, or facts about archaeology, and many other things which are all important to understand or get a meaning or a context of a story. In this second season, we will listen specially to narratives of and about water bodies from Asia, and this will include stories from the smallest of water bodies like wells or small ponds to lakes, rivers, or the sea and the ocean. Let's listen to today's episode in season 2 of What's in a Story. I continue reading a second story in today's episode from the island of Lakshadweep in the Arabian Sea. From my book, The Owl Delivered the Good News All Night Long, Folktales, Legends and Modern Lore of India by Aleph Book Company. The title of today's story is The Legend of Farangiya Aruta Kunnu of Andorth Island. The original story is in Jazari, which comes from the Arabic word Jazira, meaning languages. This story has been written by Ubaidulla Thangal for this specific volume. The literal translation of Farangiya Aruta Kunnu is the hill on which Portuguese were slaughtered. Lakshadweep, the coral islands of India, is blessed with natural blue lagoons and pure white sandy beaches and is a tourist heaven. But it was often exposed to tyranny and plunder by the sailors of the high seas. This story is also known as the Legend of Pampum Palli of Amini Island. Both stories are retellings of popular accounts associated with the unfortunate incidents which occurred during the Portuguese colonial times in the island as a result of frictions with the Portuguese army. After the arrival of Vasco da Gama, who landed in the port of Calicut, the Portuguese sailors started to arrive in the tiny island of Lakshadweep. To the Portuguese sailors, the islanders seemed helpless, peace-loving and simple, who did not know the use of firearms. The Portuguese colonial rule was filled with stories of loot, plunder and harassment of the local population. Left with no authority to turn to, the helpless people suffered incessantly from the atrocities of the Portuguese for a very long time. A historical book of Kerala, Tufat al-Mujahideen by Sheikh Jainuddin Magdum, states that the atrocities caused by the Portuguese in the Lakshadweep Islands in the 16th century was due to their ongoing battle with Arakkal Ali Raja, the king of Arakkal dynasty of Kannur in Kerala, who was also ruling Lakshadweep at that time. Thus, the common masses suffered as a result of this battle between the two political powers. The two stories mentioned in this book, which includes the one in the previous episode, have been told and retold in different versions and are part of the famous oral traditions of the island. The author, Ubaidulla, has relied on the most popular versions that have been passed down by generations as legends of bravery and resistance against cruelty and tyranny. The word Farangi, denoting the Portuguese in this context in the island, has a somewhat negative inference. This also goes to reflect the common hatred passed down through the oral traditions owing to the blood-soaked history of the islands. And finally, this story, along with the one in the previous episode, also goes to speak about how a lot of local or regional history remains embedded within the layers of local proverbs or folklore. Of course, several of these also needs to be corroborated or fact-checked with different types of historical evidences available. But the significance of folklore and oral traditions of a region thus remains important as they speak about a region which may not be known to people living outside. A little about the author. The author Ubaidulla Thangal is a native of Andorth Island of the Union Territory of Lakshadweep. He is presently working as Officer Marketing and Public Relations Officer and Law Officer in Lakshadweep Development Corporation Limited. Follows the story The Legend of Farangiya Aruta Kunnu of Andorth Island from Lakshadweep. The story The Legend of Farangiya Aruta Kunnu of Andorth Island from Lakshadweep. The Portuguese caused mayhem in the island of Lakshadweep. They arrived in small boats to loot and plunder with the help of their guns and molest the women. In order to save themselves from the hands of the Portuguese, many locals thought of various precautionary measures. Many made underground hideouts inside and outside their houses. These hideouts were used as a hiding place for the women and also to secretly store gold and other precious possessions. Whenever a person spotted a Portuguese ship in the horizon, he would climb a coconut tree and scream loudly about their arrival. On hearing the same, the islanders would panic and start working immediately to hide their women and gold in the hideouts. Nevertheless, despite these measures, the atrocities didn't stop. They continued to kill the men, molest the women, and loot the wealth. And this continued for a long time till when the locals felt that they could take it no more. A group of people decided to end this tyranny by risking their own lives, and they made a plan. The next time the Portuguese arrived on the island, instead of running away to their homes, a few people welcomed and invited them to a special treat. The Portuguese went with these people to the interiors of the island. When they reached, the islanders surrounded them with knives and attacked them. The men panicked and tried to run, but the angry islanders caught them. Many Portuguese men were killed on a hill and buried there. This hill is located in a small village called Kicheri of Andorth Island, and the hill is known as Farangiya Aruta Kunnu.